Welcome to Self-Publishing with Ally from the Alliance of Independent Authors. This week, Anna Featherstone discusses production and distribution, guiding indie authors through the many ways to create, publish, and distribute their books. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Gatekeeper Press, your partner in independent publishing, empowering authors with expert guidance, 100% rights, 100% royalties, global distribution, and all-inclusive services, from editing to marketing. Gatekeeper Press, where authors are family. And now, here's your host, Anna Featherstone.
Welcome, and thanks for tuning in from your special part of this precious, complex, or inspiring planet. I'm Anna Featherstone, and I'm recording in Sydney, Australia today, and would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners and storytellers of this land, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. And today, we are going to be discovering a platform that offers a variety of creation and narration options for audiobooks. And for this chat, we're being joined by debut sci-fi author, CEO and founder of Spoken, and that's Phil Marshall. Welcome, Phil.
And it's great to be with you.
And where in the world are you today?
Just outside of Portland, Oregon.
Oh, beautiful. How's the weather over there?
It's crisp, it's clear, it's fall, and we're getting ready for our big Thanksgiving holiday, which is next week, which means lots of turkey and pumpkin pie and all the sorts of things that you probably should do in moderation, but we won't. None of us will.
Yeah. Well, down here, we have a very sunny day and it's beach weather for sure. So we're heading into a hot summer, I think. Okay, so Phil, before we talk tech, can you share a little about your background as both a debut author and as part of the Spoken team? What drew you into this intersection between storytelling and audio technology?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I was actually trained as a surgeon, believe it or not. And so I've been in technology for 25 years, healthcare tech, first and foremost. And then I sold my conversational AI company called Conversa in 2021. And ever since around 2001, I had some notions about a story that I wanted to tell. And it's centered around an idea in gravitational physics, actually, which I don't have to bore you with. But I knew the parts of the story and the kind of backdrop to this world that I wanted to write about. And so I devoted myself full time to that endeavor and met some fantastic people along the way. And because I'm an audio only reader myself, the audio modality of bringing my own work to life was very, very important. And when I studied under Nancy Kress and Walter John Williams at Taos Toolbox, I met some people that were very influential to me on where the state of AI tech was in helping authors bring their stories to life. And I used the tools at the time. This was now more than 2 years ago. And I knew that I could build a better mousetrap. And so I founded Spoken, have a great team. We're delivering a great product that helps authors to bring their stories to life. And so my own short story, Kill Your Darlings, which I wrote at Taos Toolbox, that workshop was my very first story on Spoken. It was the very first story on Spoken, in fact. 6 different characters, different accents. And so multi-voice, the notion of full cast or multi-voice where every character has their own voice was central to what I wanted to build. And now
let's go a step. So basically you wrote a novel or a short story first, then you wanted to bring a novel to life. So you created a whole way to do that yourself with audio AI narration.
Yeah, that's right. And so Taming the Perilous Skies, my debut sci-fi techno thriller, hit the virtual shelves on September 12th. And here in probably another month or so, the audiobook, which has over 100 speaking voices, voice designed around every speaking character. Yeah. Is going to be brought out to the market. So it's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I could even create 100 different characters. So that's already blowing my mind. Um, Spoken's a fairly new ally partner. So for authors, and most people won't know like what Spoken actually is. So how would you describe what Spoken does, and how I suppose it differs from other audiobook creation options?
Sure. Yeah. So you have your manuscript, and we help you create the audiobook. And we try to automate as much of that as possible. So if you want a single narrator, you can choose from a library of voice actors that get paid for every use, very high quality voices, or you can design your own narrator based on a prompt, just custom design just for you, a voice that's never been before heard. And you can do that either for single narrator works, for dual narration, where it's just, male or female, usually romance, or you could do as I did and generate a custom voice around every single speaking character. And we try to automate as much of that as possible. You'll hear the initial samples of the custom voice if that's the direction that you go, and you can generate 3 other samples until the prompt plus the samples get it just right. Or you can search the library for a voice actor option. For nonfiction, for memoirists, and even for fiction writers, they also can record their own personal voice on Spoken and use that for any of the narration that they want. And then what we do is, if you choose like multi-voice or duet narration, where every character has its own speaking voice, we automate every single passage attributed to the right speaking character. And then once you've decided on a voice, then it carries through the entire story for that character.
Okay, I have questions.
Yeah.
How is it with accents? So we have listeners and writers from all around the world. So we've got Australians, Kiwis, Canadians, Brits, Irish, Scottish, Italian. Like, yeah,
right.
How are you?
I thought you were going to say, we've got Australians, we've got Kiwis, we've got Tanzanian, we're just going to list off all the Australian. Yeah. Yeah. We've got you covered. So accents, it's amazing. It's amazing what the voices do with accents. So we use 2 service providers. We use 11 Labs and we use Hume. And so 11 Labs has been out in the market for a few years now, has gained a lot of acclaim. And they have great voices, very reliable, both pronunciations and translations and accents. So 32 languages from 11 Labs for each of the voices that you choose. And Hume is a little bit more limited, just usually the core sort of romance languages, but still does a very nice job with accents. Most of my voices are Hume voices in my book, and I've got 12 different accents. And so that gives you a sense of kind of the variety that you're able to achieve.
Okay. And for nonfiction, very close to my heart. So do people actually narrate the whole thing? So I would narrate my entire book, or are you saying that I might get my voice kind of cloned and then I don't have to do the whole book?
That's exactly right. That's exactly what I was saying.
Both options.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was saying. And yes, so one is called actual voice, and one is called personal voice clone. And so most people choose the personal voice clone that will have you read a short script, and it goes through a variety of emotional, tones, and then now that's on the model for your exclusive use on the platform for whatever works that you want. You can do entire works as single narrator in your own voice. You can do as I did and just make yourself the villain that pops up every once in a while in your own work. Yeah. Bum, bum.
Yeah.
So lots of good variety. So custom voices, voice actor voices, your own personal voice clone, and then finally, if you want to narrate something directly as a studio recording of that passage, like your own intro, for example, which is very, very popular, then you absolutely can.
Okay. And how does Spoken ensure consistency of like pacing and tone and emotion so the listening experience is enjoyable?
So So you can imagine that each one of these, what we call passages, is done as an object of narration. And so we're able to pass the prior passage and the next passage for context. So, that helps ensure some contextual intonation. However, we also automate how much padding there is in between each of those passages. So in my Taming the Perilous Skies, I've got over 10,000 passages. In other words, 10,000 different, spoken, passages by either a character that's speaking aloud or by a narrator. And and so you can imagine that the timing and the emotional context and the narrative cohesion is critically important there. One of the other things that we do, and Hume is particularly adept at this, the new 11 Labs V3 is also able to take this, and that's emotional cues. So especially if you have something really needing that special touch, that's whisper, that's shout, that's crying, that's laughing, that's those kinds of emotions that get woven in, passing those emotional cues becomes really, really important. And then on top of all that, if it's not delivered the way you want, you're listening, you're proofing, you're listening to it, and you're like, oh, that's not quite right, it didn't end on the upswing of the question the way I wanted to, then you can just regenerate it, and you can regenerate it again and again if you want. But what most people do now is they have a good mic, let's say like a Blue Yeti mic or even AirPods now. I've got these V3 Pros, which are just fantastic. And you just click the microphone on that passage on spoken, and you speak it the way you want, and it comes out in the character's voice exactly the way you spoke it.
Wow, that's really interesting because like even people narrating audiobooks sometimes that they don't get that you're actually joking or something, and you need to say, actually, I wasn't sad there, I was actually making a joke. Like,
right, that was funny. Sarcastic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so the author goes in, clicks something and just says, I want it said this way. And then that.
Yeah, there's a number of different tricks. You can put things in all caps with asterisks next to them. You can put 2 question marks so it knows that it's supposed to be a question. Or you can just click the microphone and just speak it the way you want.
Yeah, wow. And then it does that in the voice that you programmed.
In the voice that you programmed. Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so I know. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, so authors can start, so they can either just press and leave or can be quite hands-on.
Yeah, so you're definitely going to want to proof your work. And I will say this, it covers the gamut on how much work it's going to be. So I went all the way to that extreme. And I'm using mostly Hume voices, and they're all different accents. They're all different, and I did this before Hume came out with Speak It, that ability to actually speak it into the microphone, which means I was just regenerating. Okay. And so that can be labor intensive. That can be time intensive. But now that they've come out with this Speak It, what we call Speak It functionality, voice to voice, speech to speech, or what we call Speak It, it just simplifies everything so much. And so I went to that extreme with Hume because they're a little bit more natural sounding voices, but 11 Labs sort of tried and true. If you do single narrator 11 Labs, most of these passages are going to come out pretty acceptable. You're still going to proof them. You're still going to want to alter them once in a while. And we have lexicon where if you have certain words or phrases, and we'll try to detect ones which might be a little less known, you can just change it once at the top to the phonetic sort of replacement, and that's what will go into the text to speech instead, so that you don't have to do that every single time that alien name comes back up again. So
okay, so what is the key difference then between 11 Labs Hume and spoken?
Yeah, well, 11 Labs and Hume for us serve the same role. They're both narration partners, so we pass everything into them. But we're the ones that are providing the chassis around it, the studio around it, that is by writers for writers. So we're exclusively for this market. And so the entire workflow is designed around from manuscript through analysis to voice selection to passages to publish. And then once you've got that, then your LPF that can go to Voices by an Audio, your MP3 zip files that can go to Spotify. We have increasingly a number of our authors are posting their audiobook to YouTube, which is really quite easy to do. So it's really that writer focused workflow. It's really all around that. And we're going to be doing some really interesting things from a workflow and dashboarding perspective to really make it very easy for authors. Where I'm not going to tip my hand too much. I always talk too much.
Come on.
Yeah, come on.
Because people will be listening to this like in a month or two. So you can tell us what's coming, because it won't. Well, it won't be.
It all depends on if it's a month or two.
Yeah.
So
okay. It'll probably be two.
You just said that, didn't you?
No. Because there's an app. Yeah, I think it'll be two.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's just sort of put a little.
Let's imagine.
Let's put a little sort of cone over that and push it off to the side for a second. And we'll come back around to that. But let's put it this way: we're getting closer and closer to the voice professional community, and we know that there is a very strong relationship that can happen between the authors and the voice professionals to deliver these very high quality works. And so we are going to be doing some really, I think, impressive things to bring those communities back together. I'll leave it vague like that.
Okay, that's
by
interesting.
the time you see this podcast, you probably will be able to see that announcement. So,
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so indie authors, we're all juggling limited time, tight budgets. So what's the typical learning curve or workflow like from uploading your manuscript to the final audio download? What's it going to take from us? What are we going to have to invest in our time and headspace?
Yeah, if it's single narrator and it's 11 labs, it's on the lesser side. If it's multi-voice and it's Hume side, that's on the extreme other side. And with Speak It now available for Hume, that lowers that tremendously. So I would say that generally what our authors are coming down to with Speak It functionality being the way it is, that generally if you have a 15-hour audiobook, okay, that somewhere between, say, 30 and 40 hours for work to proof, to tweak, to change, that would be about what you would want to spend on this. But that's generally for multi-voice or duet. Most of the works now on the network are multi-voice or duet because it's becoming so popular and it's so inaccessible except through a tool like Spoken. And so it's really kind of been a real foothold for us in providing that unique capability.
And
so I would say if you're doing that,
yeah. What if an author is narrating their own book versus if they're uploading their voice?
If you're doing personal voice, we rarely have. Listen. If you want to narrate your own book, buy that Blue Yeti, right? Start narrating your book. Just write on your MacBook Pro, right? Use Audition or Audacity or any of the audio products to just layer in those files. You don't need Spoken for that. You never have. So it's really about blending that human voice with the AI, which is where we're going to help. And so that personal voice clone is a key part of that. If you want your voice to be the one behind the book, generally people would be using personal voice clone for that.
And what kind of security is there for the voices? Like if I put my voice on there, or someone who's never done a podcast, so their voice doesn't appear anywhere in the world, starts using it, what kind of security do you have for people's voices?
Sure. Yeah. Files? So your files, your voice is all just secluded within your own account. And so nobody else has access to that unless you make your work public, of course, then your voice is going to be out there. And then your files are secured behind a firewall as well. So it's all very well secured in a encrypted content delivery network enabled service. I could go into all of that, but but my co-founder or CTO is a security guy. So that's one of our
And
big deals.
what does the pricing model look like? What's it going to
Yeah, so
cost someone?
that's one of the big things that we came out with. So I'll give you a little bit of the journey there because
Mm.
we didn't start where we are right now. Sometimes you make mistakes. Hey, what can you do? So so when we came out of the gate, well, when we came out of the gate, it was a free beta, so that was easy pricing, right? Because you could just use it, and then we
Free.
were yeah free. So we learned from that, and learned a lot. We were actually in the free beta for more than a year. And then we turned out our V1, and that was pricing. But where we put the paywall was we put it when you're ready to do your narration. And so and so we had a lot of folks who had been using us in beta, continued to use us. And we had the subscription, which gave 50% off the price of, the narration. And then we realized most people are new to this.
Mm.
They don't know what to expect. And so why would they pay if they don't know what it's going to sound like? And then we're like, listen, we know where we are on the arc of history here. We are on the right side of history to move that paywall and have you pay a fixed price at the end. Yes, we know between now and when the tech is really, really, even better than it is now, that um, that there's going to be a lot of re-narration, and that's going to be on our dime, right? That's going to be on us because if we offer you a fixed price and you're re-narrating every passage a bunch of times, that cost of re-narration, whether it's on Hume voices or it's on 11 Labs voices, it's going to be on us. And so, but you know what? We decided that that's okay. Like that is a better product to offer a fixed price at the end of the process when you know exactly what you have and do it based on the word count of the work. And so now it is a fixed price of $10 per every 5,000 words in your project, period. That's the subscriber price. If you don't subscribe, it's $20 per every 5,000 words. So for me, if I have a 50,000 word work, so that's 10 blocks of 5,000 each, right? So that's $100 then, because it's 10 times $10 at the subscription rate, which is the subscription is $50 a month, and that gets you 50% off that fixed price rate. And so that's why that ended up being $100 for that work, which is
And
remarkable, right? I mean, that's finished. Those are finished words. That's the end product. So we say free to use, pay when perfect.
and with the subscriber model, let's say someone only has one book. So could they just subscribe for 1 month and
Yeah.
then end their sub, but come out with their book?
Yeah, they can. Sure. They can
Yeah.
subscribe and then cancel their subscription. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I mean is, so they'll have ownership of the file. They'll be able to download their files.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
once you pay, you're publishing, right? I mean, we're stitching and mastering that final work for you. And
Right.
that's yours. That's yours. There's no constraint, there's no rights that we take on your work at all in any case. And so no, it's yours to absolutely distribute it how you wish.
And the mastering, that is your process to make sure it will work on all the platforms. Like, what kind of platforms with that output can we put our audiobooks on?
Yeah, it's important. So we actually mastered the ACX standards, and so it's fixed bit rate. We do floor and ceiling leveling, background noise removal, and you can imagine if you're doing duet or multi-voice narration, right, where we're drawing from these different voices. 11 Labs has some real variability between all of that between their voices. Hume does not. Hume's very normalized, but but we have to make sure that that blends and gets mastered all together beautifully. And so we adhere to the ACX standards on that. And there are a couple of other particulars about things like your cover art image and text on the cover art and all of that. And we guide the author through all of that because in the end, let's say that you're distributing by through Voices by an Audio, which goes to all the different services. They require those things, and so we enforce those things on our side.
And can people from all over the world use the platform?
Yeah, it's absolutely available worldwide. Yep, no constraint on that. Most of our users are either US or UK or Canada. But yeah, it's available, and 32 languages and 11 labs helps to make sure that whatever work you put in will come out nicely.
And what kind of books are you seeing coming through after the beta testing? Like, what kind of books are you seeing a lot of? Any particular genres?
Yeah, it's speculative fiction is still our top. So fantasy and science fiction is still our top. But the thing that has held back romance is that we're only this week launching our duet narration, and so that's out. Well, for you, it'll be 2 months old if you're watching
Yeah.
if you're watching this, right? So it's coming out like literally this week. So that's kind of held back the romance community, but I expect that to skyrocket because if you think about duet now, just for those listeners that aren't up on what dual is versus duet. So dual narration is just simply the female character takes the female chapters, the male character takes the male chapters, and they narrate those chapters entirely themselves. The duet, on the other hand, is where the female voices every female character and the male voices every male character. But in our world, it's even further than that because ours is multi-voice where your male character is the narrator on those chapters, your female character is the narrator on those chapters, but every character also has their own voice on top of that, right? And so duet for us is fancy pants duet. I don't did I just come up with that? I may have to trademark that.
You might
Anyway,
have.
fancy pants duet. And so with that coming out, we're going to be making a big splash with romance authors. So I expect that to really escalate. Plenty of thriller, plenty of horror, and a really good dose of nonfiction as well. Memoirs, so easy to put your own personal voice clone on and get the work out. And you know what has really begun to resonate because it's only been relatively recent that we changed this, and that is the free to use, pay when perfect, that fixed cost of the finished work based on your actual word count of your actual novel. That has really resonated across different genres. And so yeah, it's pretty exciting time.
And are there voice effects and things like dog barking or door knocking?
No, we are, by the time your readers listen to this, we will have intro and outro music, but I've held off on the sound effects. We certainly can, incorporate that. It's still pretty tough to get exactly what you want. Regenerate. And the burden on the author versus the benefit, I don't think that maybe it'll be maybe Q2, Q3 next year that we would consider sound effects because I don't know. My gut, I could be wrong on this. I mean, you hear some works that have great sound effects. A lot of the sound booth, theater, that stuff, it has sound effects. I keep up on all the communities on listeners and audiobooks and all that. And there's just not a lot of love for the sound effect heavy works. In fact, I would criticize the latest Harry Potter on that point, that that the full cast Harry Potter that has all the sound effects. I think that's a mistake. I think that it draws you away from story. That's my, opinion. And I think, is there a consensus on that? I don't know. We're monitoring it closely, but that was a really long-winded way of saying, yeah, maybe not. Maybe not the sound effects. We'll see. Yeah.
Okay. And are you seeing any indie authors coming through with their backlists?
Oh, yes, absolutely. For anybody who has met my colleague Stacy, she is like best friends with all those authors that had big backlists. So we have, a lot of our authors have 50, 100 or more than 100 in their backlist. And here's the opportunity for audio is you already have a following. You probably already have a few of your works on audio. You spent, the money for the human narrator, but you've got all of these works that could be consumed in these channels and Spotify and all the other channels and yet the economics don't make a lot of sense there, but now they do. Now it's straightforward to do that and to get those works out.
Okay. And then we know that, so let's say we can all get our books out, but then the marketing becomes a problem. So is there a way people are using spoken somehow to help with their marketing?
Yeah. So, in fact, Jesse Quack, who is a great author and coach for authors, she just put out a video about creating your story magnet. So your leader magnet, that first chapter or that short story in the same universe, and you can just publish that right on Spoken. We're a streaming network, and you can share that with all of your folks, and so that's become very, very popular. The other thing that we've started to do is we've started to produce trailers, like cinematic trailers. And we know how to do that. We're integrated with all the engines. My colleague Joshua is a film director and a heck of a karaoke artist too, by the way. So next year's Author Nation,
We all
if
need
anyone
more
wants,
of them.
yeah, he's but just about the best. But he actually leads our trailer development efforts, and so we're going to be mechanizing that to help authors with their discovery because a lot of it can use the audio that they already have, that we've already produced for them.
Okay. So for authors who are thinking, oh, this sounds interesting, like I might try this, what's the best way for them to start experimenting, like safely, affordably, and without like
It's
it taking
yeah,
their entire brain over?
yeah. Take just it's so easy to just take a chapter, take a short story or take a chapter. Again, it's free to use. You just pay when it's done, right? When you want to publish it, so you can play around and become really familiar with it. Um, you'll be able to do your actual voice on passages, your personal voice clone. You'll be able to draw from a big library of voice actor voices or create a custom voice around every one of those characters. And it's fun to hear those characters really come to life, I think. I mean, for mine, it was a thrill to create all those voices and to finally hear it really come to life. And so, yeah, I would say just, no barrier whatsoever. You can go on in and, uh, and test it out.
And like, but okay, what would we prepare though before uploading our book? Like, what are some tips to make the process smoother? Like, what kind of thinking do we need to do? Or what do we need? Yeah, any processes to make the end result more professional?
Not really. We try to do a lot of the work, for you on making sure that your work will go in and produce a nice audio work afterwards. If you want to test with a chapter, then do that or a standalone story. If there's a lot of administrative front matter on it, right? You've got your copyright, you got right, just take that out if you want to test it. Just take that stuff out and just upload your story. But as far as changing your story itself, nothing at all. I mean, after all, we need to bring your story to life. We don't want to change your story. Having said that, I, as an author, have learned some lessons that are pretty unique, I think, because of the position that I'm in and doing audio and doing my own audio. And that is that I am able to take out about a third of my dialogue tags because I'm doing multi-voice. The listener
Mm.
knows who's speaking. And so things like that become interesting, right? When you put on the hat of the listener and you're like, well, I don't need that dialogue tag. Just get rid of it, And so that kind of thing long term will impact how
Mm.
people write for this medium versus others. It
So you
becomes
kind of do
interesting.
like you do like an audio edit.
Like an audio edit. That's exactly right. Yep, that's
Yeah.
exactly right. So when people say, "Well, is it the same as your manuscript?" No, it's not. It's not significantly different, but it is different.
So when I think about like, hundreds of characters, potentially thousands, tens of thousands of authors, like, and AI use, like that chews up a lot of energy and water. Like, what does spoken do in that space? Like, how do you kind of, I suppose, mitigate some of those demands?
Yeah, I think the main thing that we do is we try to get as close as we can to one shot being right. Like because if you're regenerating, right? That's using those GPUs, right? Those NVIDIA GPUs, over and over and over. And so getting that down to as few regenerations as possible really reduces that. And so things like the speak it functionality, being able to just speak it the way you want it, right? And not regenerate, that transforms this to being a much lower energy, costly endeavor for sure.
And with like are human narrators able to audition with you guys, or do they go through other channels?
Yep. So by the time that your readers will see this, we will have a whole different story for the voice professional. And so I'll just say stay tuned for that. It'll be very evident on our website by the time that your viewers see this. But spoken will become, I think, a very powerful tool for the voice professional. And so that, yes, that does mean the personal voice clone. That does mean being able to market your voice clone. But at the same time, there are a lot of other things that the voice professional community can do for authors, and we're going to be bringing them together like never before on Spoken. So, yeah.
It was so funny. Obviously, before our interview, I was doing some research, and on your website, it was like your media release is like update, and then a few weeks later, another update. So obviously, like there's new versions coming out all the time. So you guys are like fast progressing everything you're doing. It's fascinating to see that play out in real life. Like it's like new. Now we're doing
Yeah. And this week's release, which is scheduled for Thursday, is both duet narration, digital signature for voices by an audiophile, and what's our other big Hume Speak It. Yeah. So those are just some of the things that are coming out. That's Thursday. So people often ask me, they're like, what's it going to look like in 5 years? And I'm like, are you kidding me? 5 years? I can't tell you what this is going to look like in 6 months. I mean, but the team's good. The team builds a high quality product. I'm very demanding on product. That's my thing. And so as I tell folks, I'm not going to be beat on product. I just won't. So,
and are you working on another novel yourself?
Well, so I need to make sure that Taming the Perilous Skies and that audiobook really gets the kind of air that it needs. And I'm, leading a very quickly moving startup company. So the second book, which I've at least temporarily titled If Memory Serves, is 50 years after the first novel. The first novel set in 2076, which comes after the invention of anti-gravity, which comes after this notion of unified physics has really kind of changed the world. And 50 years after the tragedy of 2076, when the anti-gravity grid fails, there's another invention that transforms life just as massively, and that is the ability to retain all memories crystal clear, and the kind of impact that has on society. And there are some discoveries that happen there that are pretty mind bendy, and so I'm about a third of the way through drafting that, but that stalled.
Yeah.
I don't know, like 2 years ago. So But yeah, book two will happen. Book two will happen.
Well, Phil, thank you so much. It's been fascinating speaking with you. Where can people find out more?
Sure. Well, spoken.press, absolutely. And then drphilmarshall.com also is my personal, with all my personal stuff. But yeah, spoken.press is the place to find out all about the stuff that we're doing, and we're moving pretty fast. We're here for authors exclusively. So if you see anything you don't like, you can just pick up the phone and call me. I'll pick it up.
Oh dear. Well, I really appreciate learning more about what you're doing, and look forward to seeing all the new updates that come out. And thank you so much, Phil.
My pleasure. And I will have to correct one thing I said. You said, hey, listen, if we have to edit, just let me know. And you don't have to edit anything out at all. Just for your audience that picked up that I said Tanzania instead of Tasmania.
I know.
Could you just make sure that I'm dumb? I'm American. I don't know my world geography. And so I meant Tasmania. And that's been bothering me ever since I said it. So I just wanted to make sure that
I was thinking, are you going down the South African, like...
right. No, I wasn't. I'm just dumb. That's all.
I think we'll leave this in because that's kind of pretty fun.
Leave this in, right? Yeah, absolutely. Leave this in. And just know that if you waited this long and you were bothered by that, so was I. So...
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's actually sometimes fun, isn't it? Like to leave in the stuff ups. We love that.
Oh, absolutely. So, what do you call people from Perth, by the way? Are they Perthian? What do you call them?
Oh, there's a whole different, like, it depends. So yeah, we'll let the Perth listeners write in and tell us how they prefer to be.
Okay. All right. Good. All right.
Yeah. So anyway, to all you listeners out there, thank you for tuning in again and being a part of this beautiful Ally podcast family. Here's wishing you lots of time to write and lots of time to create and enjoy this beautiful planet. Thank you.
You've been listening to Self-Publishing with Ally with Anna Featherstone. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Gatekeeper Press, your partner in independent publishing, empowering authors with expert guidance, 100% rights, 100% royalties, global distribution, and all-inclusive services, from editing to marketing. Gatekeeper Press, where authors are family. And if you haven't already, we invite you to join our organization and become a self-publishing ally. You can do that at allianceindependentauthors.org.